What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto say XY Jutsu turned into a real girl who desired him? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. What is this crap? Tsunade demanded as she held up a clear glass bottle. It's legendary water from the cursed Nanichuan springs. Shizune answered excitedly. It was specifically drawn from the spring of the drowned girl mixed with the water of stillness. The cursed springs of the hidden hot springs village? Tsunade asked in surprise. She placed the glass down on her desk and eyed it suspiciously. They had supposedly dried up decades ago. The Nanichuan was once wet and full of springs that each had a victim who met a tragic end, Shizune said as she reminisced the old tale. Tsunade nodded. Yeah, I remember. It was rumored that if you fell into the spring of the victim that drowned there 1,000 years ago or so, you will become them. For instance, if one was to fall in the spring of the drowned girl, they will become a female. That's right, Shizune nodded eagerly. I bought it from a traveling salesman this morning. Her face fell when Tsunade sent her a soft frown. Shizune, her mistress warned. Don't spend money on fables. I rather have sake or even a pomp keychain. Shizune fidgeted in embarrassment. She hated when Tsunade used the tone she would use with a child. Well, it didn't cost too much, I was just thinking it could help with Miss Takahashi. Since she has high levels of testosterone, I thought it could help with her, you know, she pointed to her chin. Her whiskers. Suddenly the office door slammed open and there stood a sweaty red-faced Naruto. Hey Granny Tsunade, I was in the middle of training, what do you want? He bellowed irritably. The Hokage winced. She rubbed her forehead, it throbbed ominously, and with Naruto in the mix a headache was inevitable. Honestly Naruto, inside voices please. You're 19 years old, act like it for once. She demanded. I'm 18, so there. Naruto stuck out his tongue childishly. A vein pulsed on Tsunade's brow. Still, you're going to enroll into Anbu classes this fall, so straighten up already. She snapped. Anyway, Naruto interrupted the Hokage rudely. I'm thirsty. Aha. He cheered when he spotted a clear bottle of water on Tsunade-sama's desk. With a grin, Naruto snatched it and pulled the cork out with his teeth. No Naruto. Look, it's your fault I'm here in the first place, so the least you can do is spare me a drink. The young adult complained and gulped the water down greedily. Tsunade and Shizune held their breaths in apprehension. When he was finished Naruto gagged. Yuck. Stale. What the heck Granny? You had it sitting around for years or what? He whined as he wiped his mouth on the helm of his jacket. Shizune and Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief when nothing happened. Shizune was exceedingly glad. Sure, it meant she wasted her check on a dud, but at least Naruto was okay. Tsunade stood up, smacked the Kyuubi boy across the head. That's what you get, you little brat. How dare you? Ah! Naruto cried out suddenly. The glass bottle shattered as it hit the ground. He gripped the desk in front of him and clenched his teeth. Naruto! Tsunade shouted in alarm. She leapt to Naruto's side, wondering if she had hit the boy too hard. That idea was thrown out when Naruto wrapped his arms around his stomach as a stabbing, gut-twisting pain filled his abdominal cavity. What's wrong? Naruto only screamed in reply. It was like the belly cramps he got from drinking expired milk, but only it was 1,000 times worse, and it was spreading to all the parts of his body. Naruto heard Tsunade's and Shizune's frantic cries, but all he could see were stars pounding in the back of his head. Unable to stand any longer, Naruto fell to the ground and passed out. Tsunade and Shizune watched in horror as Naruto's shape shifted right in front of their eyes. His hair grew out until it was 3 feet down his back. Next, Naruto's body seemed to shrink as his jumpsuit bagged out. His facial features softened, giving him more of a feminine structure. Higher cheekbones, a rounder, softer chin, plump lips, longer eyelashes and thinner eyebrows. Shizune gulped as she stole a glance at Tsunade. Her mistress's face was like stone. Shizune, Tsunade said, her eyes never leaving Naruto's form. Shizune winced a little. Why yes, Tsunade-sama? Go fetch me the Anbu, extra strength Tylenol and a bottle of sake. It's going to be a long day. Hello Sasuke-kun. Where is Naruto and Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked her comrade when she arrived at training grounds. Sasuke was leaning against the trunk of a tree. He shrugged his shoulders. Kakashi is a no-show and Naruto was summoned to the Hokage's office, cutting our spar short. I'm going home, he said flatly, walking away. Wait, Sasuke-kun, Sakura called after him. Several years had passed and Sakura had blossomed into a lovely lady of 19 years. She was starting to get noticed by the male population in Konoha and was sent love letters daily from Lee. However, in high hopes she continued to pursue her childhood crush, Sasuke Uchiha. Let's hang out together, just the two of us. The Cat's Eye Cafe is now selling iced lattes. Cool, huh? Tee-hee. They just started serving it that way a month ago. Imagine that, Sasuke replied dryly as he walked on. Sakura faltered. Please, she begged. You just got on probation and he ducked her head. I miss you, Sasuke? Yeah, Uchiha Sasuke had just gotten out of jail but was still under strict probation. He had spent the last 3 years of his life in the Konoha prison, a slap on the wrist compared to all he had done. First, he was a missing nin for 3 years. Second, he fraternized with Konoha's wanted S-ranked criminal, Orochimaru. Third, he became an S-ranked criminal himself for joining forces with the Akatsuki, and then he conspired against Konoha by invading the Leaf Village with Uchiha Madara. The book should have been slammed at him, and it would have been if Naruto didn't intercept for him. Since Uchiha's true persecutors were killed being the elders and Danzo from Konoha root. Kudos to Madara for beating him to it, convincing the younger generation for redemption was a piece of cake. His sentence was 3 years behind bars and then 2 years of scrutinizing probation. In the probation period he was required to do all missions for free, but it was no big deal. He had inherited enough cash from his dead relatives to last him several lavish lifetimes. Sasuke stopped and turned around. You're still annoying after all these years, Sakura, he said softly. A hurt look plastered on Sakura's face as tears began to fill her eyes. Sasuke sighed. He hated to see girls cry. Those fresh tears reminded him of the night he left Konoha, the night he left Sakura. The Uchiha inclined his head. Fine, he decided. I'll treat us both. Sakura blinked. She lifted her head. What? She stared at Sasuke, her face turning the same shade as her hair. Sakura didn't know if she was dreaming or not. Nani? You will? Sasuke sighed again. He never liked women that much. They were so superficial that it almost turned him gay. Unfortunately, he needed a female in order to restore his clan, and Sakura was the only girl in Konoha he could tolerate. When she wasn't busy goggling over him, they could at least hold a decent conversation. I want to hang with you too, Sakura, Sasuke elucidated. Let's go. Sakura's face broke out into a huge grin. Hi, let's, she said excitedly. She locked their arms together and led him to the restaurant. Why isn't the Tylenol working yet? Tsunade mumbled to herself as she rubbed her throbbing temple. She cracked open a honey-brown eye to see the Anbu standing readily before her desk. Go find the merchant who sold Shizune the water. I will question him, she ordered. Tsunade's headache was no better when they returned 10 minutes later with the man perfectly fitting Shizune's description in tow. He was a stout little man. His beady eyes darted all around the room nervously. He seemed to calm down when his eyes fell on an unconscious girl laying on a pallet near the Hokage's desk. She had on a baggy jumpsuit, but her figure could be outlined very well through the fabric. Tsunade scowled. That little lecher. She cleared her throat in an irritable tone to get his attention. Looking startled, the man addressed her. Why you requested me Hokage-sama? He stuttered respectfully with a shaky bow. Yes, Tsunade replied. He held up the empty bottle. I have a few questions regarding his item you sold to my assistant this morning. The man seemed relieved. What do you wish to know? Everything and anything you know about it. Well, you see, it belonged to my father. The old bastard used to brag that he got it from the Nanichuan springs of the hidden hot springs village before drought settled in and dried them up. Tsunade nodded her head. The man seemed more comfortable as he continued. He claimed he got some water from the spring of the drowned girl and then mixed it with the water of stillness. He was going to use it to turn his, the man hesitated. While blushing he said, to turn his, lover, into a woman. Unfortunately or fortunately for me, his boyfriend died before he could drink it. So he just kept it as a reminder. And it wind up in Konoha how? The old coot up and died a year ago, leaving a huge financial burden on my family, so I decided to sell off some his things to help settle the debt. The merchant shrugged. He chuckled. I didn't believe him. Heck, it did wonders for you, sir. You are the wisest transwal I have ever seen. He gave Tsunade the big thumbs up. Tsunade gripped the edge of her desk so hard it cracked under pressure. The surrounding shinobi and Shizune took several wise steps out of the line of fire. So I'm stuck like this? Shouted a voice suddenly. Naruto sat up, pushing her long golden locks out of her face. He, or rather she, had been eavesdropping the whole time. The merchant rubbed his chin thoughtfully. So you're the transwal. Pretty much, sweet cheeks. Naruto, Tsunade said, but the blonde was already had the man in a headlock. Naruto shook the merchant crazily. Tell me how to cure this old man. Now. Stop it. Stop. The man yelped, fighting futilely in Naruto's arms. Do you know anything else? The fifth asked. Naruto stopped shaking the man and let him talk. Reluctantly, Naruto released the man. The merchant gagged pitifully. How I missed you. Psycho chick. He managed to wheeze out, yes. A cure? Naruto and Tsunade asked eagerly. No, that an ape riding a yak while holding a snake and an eagle drowned in a legendary spring 1,100 years ago. Arg! Naruto screamed in frustration as she pulled her hair. The only thing I could suggest though is… What? Spill it, old timer. Naruto yelled. It'll cost 50,000 yen, the merchant said with a smirk. Why, you little… Hush, Naruto all agreed to his terms. Tsunade said, getting up from the desk and stood before the greedy man. Tsunade held up her hand. 10,000 yen, she tucked her finger under. 20,000 yen. She tucked in the second finger and did the same thing with each finger until she made a fist. She raised it threateningly about the man's head. 50,000 yen. Gah, I'll tell you for free. Good boy. The only thing I could say may help is that if the person who fell into a cursed spring is sprayed with hot water, they will change back to their original form, but… Hell yeah, Naruto cheered. That's all you had to say, you old fart. She stripped out of her baggy outfit as she ran into the building's bathroom, only dressed in her boxers. Several of the Anbu got a nosebleed. One agent even fainted, blood running out from underneath his mask. Tsunade heard the water run in a nearby bathroom and then a frustrated scream. Naruto stomped back into the room drenched. Why can't I change back? I thought you said by being soaked in hot water, I can turn back. Veins pulsed dangerously on the merchant's forehead. He was obviously still sore about Tsunade's threat. If you would have let me finish, I would have told you it wouldn't work. He shouted, nearly giving Naruto an ear bleed. Tsunade tossed Naruto her clothes. Have you no shame? Cover your cleavage. With a huff, Naruto redressed herself. Tsunade and Shizune were embarrassed beyond comprehension. Some of the Anbu were trying to wake their fainted comrades with smelly salt, while the other shinobi enjoyed the view with the lecherous merchant. Once the merchant had Naruto's full attention, he continued. Normally you could reverse the process by splashing you with hot water, however, you swallowed it. He explained and then sighed. In doing so, the water was absorbed into your body, hence changing you from the inside out, permanently. Naruto felt her insides turned cold as she fell into a stunned silence. She slumped to the tile floor. Tsunade placed her hands on Naruto's shoulder. There is no cure. Welcome to womanhood, sonny. The merchant crackled. Then the Kyuubi girl did something Tsunade didn't see coming. Naruto cried. Tears fell from her baby blue orbs. Holy crap. Naruto swore in tears. What am I going to do? I'm a freak of nature. Tsunade sat down next to Naruto on the floor. Don't worry, brat. I'm here for you, so is Shizune, Sakura and all the other girls of the village. I'm sure they'll take you right under their wings, she tried to soothe. Naruto hiccuped. But granny, my dreams, my needs, how will they, be fulfilled still? Tsunade smiled gently. Naruto, you still are you, just with boobies and a vagina? Naruto added helpfully. You don't have to be so descriptive. Tsunade nodded. Yeah, that's right. Underneath that female anatomy you're still that same annoying, loud, pig-headed, spirited brat. To her relief, Naruto perked up a bit. You promised you will be Hokage after me? Will that change with your gender? No way, hag. Will you stop eating wagons full of ramen because you're a girl? Not on your life. Will you ever let Sasuke overpower you? When hell freezes over. That's my air girl. Tsunade smiled. She pulled Naruto into a hug. Well then, you are going to be just fine, she reassured while patting Naruto's back. As they parted, Tsunade eyed Naruto's outfit distastefully. I'm gonna tell Sakura to bring some kimonos for you later on for you to wear until you can replace your wardrobe. Naruto looked offended. What's wrong with what I'm wearing? She stood up and her pants fell off her hips, revealing her baggy boxers. Tsunade chuckled. It's several sizes too big. With a pout, Naruto ran her hands over hips consciously. Man, was I really that fat? She mumbled as moved to observe herself in a nearby mirror. No Naruto, girls are naturally smaller and curvier, Tsunade answered. With a lecherous grin, Naruto rubbed her rear and then squeezed her ass. The reawakened Anbus fainted again at the sight. Yeah, I know what you mean, tee-hee. Tsunade's eye twitched. For heaven's sake, stop groping yourself. The merchant tried to ease himself out of the door. Now I'll just be on my way. Hold it, Buster. Tsunade barked. Immediately the Anbu blocked the exit. What? The man said, turning to face an enraged Hokage. Seize him. You're under arrest. What for? I didn't do anything. The man screamed. Oh yes you did. I recognize your face, Aboa Tirumiku. You're wanted for selling illegal shinobi forehead protectors. That's a federal offense. Take away him, Tsunade ordered. The merchant mumbled curses against Tsunade under his breath as the Anbu lead him out in charca-molded handcuffs. So how does the kimono fit, Naruto? Sakura asked. She had went through her closet last night and picked out some spare kimonos for Naruto to use until she could go shopping. Naruto tried hard to close the kimono over her jumbo S, but it was a no-go. Well, it's tight in the chest, heck, it can barely cover my boobs. She complained. Veins popped out on Sakura's head. Naruto, you idiot. Ukai, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean anything by it, she chanted to calm herself down. How about the waist? Shizune asked next. She saw how bad Naruto was fiddling with the slash. Room to spare. Naruto empathized by folding in the inner layer of the kimono closer to her waist. Sakura couldn't take it any longer. She smacked Naruto across the head. What? Naruto exclaimed angrily. Those are my kimonos, idiot. Sakura screamed. Well, it's not my fault you have a flat chest and a thick waist. Inner Sakura had erupted to the surface. Naruto, you idiot, she screamed as she gave Naruto the beating of her life. Shizune sighed. She still felt partially responsible for Naruto's dilemma. Sakura, when you're done beating the stuffing out of Naruto, Tsunade-sama would like to have a word with you before you head out. Sasuke was making his way to the Hokage Tower. He hadn't seen Naruto since their spar yesterday and it had him, curious, worried, especially with these weird rumors flooding across the village that the Dobi had a change. He tried to pry information from Sakura but she remained close-lipped about it and the Hokage claimed the blonde had some sort of unique illness that required study, close observation and absolutely no visitors. If that was the case, why wasn't the Dobi in a hospital? He was on his way to the Hokage's office to demand news on Naruto's progress when he noticed a pretty pigtailed girl sulking outside the office door. She was also sporting a black eye. The purple kimono she wore was several sizes too small around the chest but Sasuke wasn't complaining. Her arms were folded across her torso in a weak attempt to hide her plump. Sasuke then scrutinized girl's face. She was cute, beautiful even. It was rare to find a truly beautiful girl with no makeup but then he scoffed. She probably was no different from any other girl he had encountered in his short 20 years of life. He would just glance in their direction and they cling to him like leeches. TCH, women? Naruto was waiting outside the Hokage's office as Sakura finished her business with Tsunade when suddenly she felt a pair of eyes observing her. She looked up to see Sasuke standing at a distance glazing at her. It made her feel uneasy. What the hell are you looking at, Teme? She shouted. Sasuke blinked. His jaw unknowingly slacked. A girl who actually didn't ogle at him and better yet called him Sasuke Uchiha, a bastard to his face. Most girls would be flattered if he even glanced their way but this one was different. What a miracle. Sasuke regained his composure instantly. My apologies, miss, he said. Don't you be calling me a missy. The girl snapped angrily again. Kami Sasuke, are you that dumb? I'm Naruto, baka. Sasuke blinked. He then focused his energies to decipher the girl's aura, and sure enough, he found swirling blue and red charka. Sasuke rolled his eyes, and just to think he was actually worried about Naruto. "Dobi, what are you doing in that jutsu? I thought you gave up those dumbass techniques." "Hey," Naruto said, offended. "I'll let you know that my Why no Jutsu is a work of art." She then sighed. "Kami, do I wish this was a jutsu." "Then what is it?" Sasuke asked as he nonchalantly poked Naruto's boob that was practically falling out of the kimono. "You pervert," Naruto yelled, slapping his hand away. "I accidentally drunk water from the Nanichuan, the cursed spring of the drowned girl, and now I'm stuck as a girl forever," she shouted. "Forever?" Sasuke blinked as he computed that. His rival and best friend is stuck as a girl forever? Sasuke blinked again. Naruto waited. Sasuke blinked for the third time. "Is this a hoax?" he asked. "What's the real reason you went AWOL yesterday?" "I've told you, Teme. Tsunade had been trying to find a cure for me but couldn't, so now I'm stuck as a girl till I kick the bucket." Naruto snapped. She then sighed. "Is it that hard to accept? I'm still Naruto Uzumaki, just with boobs instead of balls," she shouted while jabbing her thumb at herself. "Oh yeah, the same attitude, whiskered cheeks, the same limited mental capacity, heck even the same loud obnoxious voice. It was Naruto alright, just in a woman's body. Kami, this was complicated." Sasuke shook his head to answer Naruto's question and to clear his head. "Fine," he shrugged to loosen up his shoulders. "So are you going to meet up with me and Sakura tomorrow for training?" he asked. Naruto grinned widely. She was so relieved nothing had changed. "You betka," she winked. "Believe it." Sasuke's eyes widened. He had always heard Naruto say, "You betka," with a wink as a guy and thought nothing of it. Now doing it as a girl was cute, a turn on. Sasuke froze. What did he just thought? Oh, this was bad. Naruto lost her good guy pose and looked concerned. "Sasuke, are you okay? You look a little red there, fever or something?" "It's nothing." Sasuke felt his face burn even hotter as he turned. Later Dobi, he stuffed his hands in his pockets and walked away. Naruto mouth curved into a smile. "Yep, nothing's changed. The Teme still calls me Dobi, what a relief," she thought. Unfortunately, little did Naruto know, her world was going to change as dramatically as her gender had. "Oh my, this is quite a pickle," a voice said suddenly. Naruto turned to see Kakashi staring down at her, his lazy eye filled with surprise. "Kakashi-sensei, you recognize me?" Naruto said. They were now equals in terms of skill, but the honorifics were hard to break. "Naruto?" Kakashi trailed, staring down at his ex-student. His face broke out into a lecherous grin under his mask. "Oh, I'm so proud of you. Idiot." Naruto punched him on the shoulder. "Shut up, you pervert. I didn't do this on purpose." "Well, it's still a blessing in disguise," Kakashi teased. "It'll be easier to train with you now, heh." He smoothly ducked Naruto's high kick. "You've been nothing but a lecher since you decided to continue Jiraiya's work." "Your dearly departed sensei had inspired me," Kakashi said. "Besides, my newest edition is selling much better than Jiraiya's previous work." "It's not at all boring to you now, is it, Naruto?" Naruto blushed scarlet. Kakashi looked satisfied. "See? Just get the hell away from me, you pervy shinobi." Naruto snapped in embarrassment. "Okay, and what that makes you?" Kakashi asked coolly. "Since you like my writings?" Naruto stuttered. She didn't expect that. Kakashi patted Naruto empathetically on the shoulder. "Don't worry, your name is already on the waiting list for Book 3 in the Itazurana Kiss Chronicles." "Are really? You're making a third one?" Naruto said excitedly. She gripped Kakashi's jacket. "Will Taki and Tsubasa get back together?" She then stiffened in realization. Hey, wait a minute. Don't get off the subject." Kakashi chuckled as he peeled off Naruto's fist. He had won the argument hands down. "See ya tomorrow morning for training. Till then, ya ne." In a puff of smoke he disappeared. Naruto growled. "Pervert. Whoa boss. Is that you?" asked a voice. Naruto turned to see his underlings, Konohamaru and Udon. Naruto inwardly twitched. What was today? Greet the new Naruto Day? The Kyuubi container sighed. Might as well get used to it. She'll most likely be correcting people on her accidental gender change for months, possibly to a year on end. "Hey Konohamaru, Udon," Naruto greeted. "We heard the rumors," Konohamaru said. He eyed Naruto's form. "So it's for real? Yeah, and permanent, Naruto grumbled. Udon pushed his spectacles up the bridge of his nose. Bad luck, huh? He said with an encouraging smile. Naruto stiffed a laugh. You can say that? Konohamaru then pointed to Naruto's chest. So that means these are real, he said in fascination. Without permission he began to rub Naruto's left in a hentai fashion. Yeah, let me feel too, Udon said as he squeezed Naruto's right. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. She grabbed the Chunins by their heads and slammed them both to the ground. Stop groping me, you little freaks, she ordered through clenched teeth. OWW. Oh come on boss. Konohamaru whined as he nursed the bump on his forehead. We were only curious. Yeah, no need to get crazy like that macho chick, Sakura. Who are you calling a macho chick? Asked a creepily calm voice. The boys and Naruto turned to see an ugly impersonation of inner Sakura standing in the doorframe of Tsunade's office. She cracked her knuckles sinisterly. Gia. Konohamaru and Udon ran away in pure terror. And you? Sakura turned to Naruto and smacked her across the head. Ow. Naruto knelt down and rubbed her injury. Don't let boys touch you like that. Where's your feminine pride? Sakura bellowed. Naruto looked up at Sakura sheepishly. It's under development, Sakura sighed. This was turning into a long day. Come on, idiot, the sooner you have a new wardrobe the sooner I can meet up with Sasuke-kun. Sakura snapped. She then proceeded to drag Naruto mercilessly behind her. Aye, Sakura-chan, do you always have to be so violent? This is not ladylike. Naruto complained. Oh shut up Transwal. Naruto endured endless torture when Sakura dragged her, literally, to the store called Chi-Chi-chan's lingerie. There the Sakura had shoved Naruto into the dressing room and nearly cracked the poor girl's ribs by forcing bras of every kind on Naruto's large bosom. After trying sizes B through D, the cotton candy-haired girl grudgingly went to the DD sizes. Naruto sighed in relief as she tried on the extra-large bra. She scowled at her friend. Why the hell didn't you try this size sooner? It's obvious my boobs are huge. She yelled only to be met with a dark glance. Naruto chuckled nervously as she backed down. Look, if I could give some of this, she squeezed her chest. To you I would, but hey it's genetics. By the time they were done, Naruto had left the shop with about 5 bras, several packs of underwear, fist-net stockings, a black slip and several blows to the head. Next they went by a retail store for her shinobi wardrobe. The store in general specialized in clothing designed to withstand friction and repel the elements like fire, dirt and water. On display were thigh-high black sandals with orange sewn on the trim. They were one of a kind and were 70% off because most shinobi wouldn't be caught dead in neon orange, to Naruto's pleasure. Next Naruto picked out matching orange shorts and an off-black fishnet baby doll top with leggies included. She didn't bother replacing her jackets because she had 3 jackets that were accidentally shrunken when she was too cheap to take them to the professional cleaners. So how'd I look, Sakura? Naruto asked as she marched out of the dressing room. Sakura was sitting patiently outside reading the Konoha weekly newspaper. Her jaw dropped comically when Naruto emerged. Why you look great, she said amazed. She stood up excitedly. Turn around, turn around. Naruto did so with heavy enthusiasm. Oh, Sakura wiped a tear. To think you have a knack for fashion, I guess you're not a total lost Naruto-kun. Hey, act Sakura-chan. Naruto whined as the medic nin popped the tags off the clothing and dragged Naruto to the checkout counter. Once outside the store, Sakura shoved all of Naruto's purchases into her arms. Naruto was shocked. What are you doing? Aren't you gonna help me? I need to sail off. I'm glad we were able to get done before noon so I can meet up with Sassy-chan for lunch. Sakura said. Naruto dropped her bags as she erupted in uncontrollable laughter. Sassy-chan, she managed to wheeze out. I bet the bastard likes that. Actually I find it annoying affectionate, a voice corrected Naruto from behind. Sasuke-kun, Sakura said excitedly as she leapt into her boyfriend's arms. Hey, babe, he said in a monotone. Babe? Naruto raised her eyebrows at the two. She pointed. You guys are going out, yeah, Sakura finished happily. She snuggled closer to Sasuke's chest. Sassy's been my boyfriend since the day you went all girl. Naruto smiled cheekily. The lack of my presence created the perfect atmosphere for you two lovebirds to connect, huh? She said. Well ain't I a matchmaker or what? Even before her accidental change, Naruto had given up on trying to win over Sakura's heart, so Sakura's newfound relationship with Sasuke didn't bother her. Well, not much anyhow. Sasuke then observed Naruto. He had to admit Uzumaki was putting a lot of girls to shame with her looks. "Orange for this form too?" he asked. "I will never give up my orangeness," Naruto said proudly. "I love contrasting your blueness." Sasuke scoffed with a small smile that disappeared as quickly as it came. "Baka," he said. "Teme," Naruto replied. With a sigh, she looked up into the clear blue sky. "Still, from boxers to bras unwillingly, someone up there must hate me a lot." "Somebody down here hates you too," a voice commented. "Ah, shut up, Kiba? Shino?" Naruto asked, surprised. Kiba and Shino had just walked up and happened to catch the end of her statement. Kiba chuckled in amusement. "I'm just kidding, Naruto," he said while nudging the girl's shoulder. "You know we're buds." "So," Shino said coolly. "The rumors are true." He eyed Naruto's newest form. "Most unfortunate for Hinata-chan." "News travel fast, I see," Naruto said sheepishly. "Speaking of Hinata, where is she? Why is my situation bad for her?" She went home early," Kiba said, answered a bit awkwardly. He nudged Shino hard in the ribcage. "Nothing's wrong with Hinata, she was just shocked that she'll be sharing the ladies' room with Ya from now on." "Heh. Well, I guess it is a bit of a shocker. Most women will probably think I'm in my Why no Jutsu form still. Anyway, where were you guys the last couple of weeks?" Naruto asked. "On a mission or something?" Shino nodded. "We just got back from the Land of Lighting. Apparently a warlord pissed off a gang of samurai vagabonds and needed shinobi intervention to settle the matter." "So lucky," Naruto complained. "You got to beat the crap out of thugs while I got the crap beaten out of me by Sakura." "You little ingrate," the pink-haired girl snapped. "And after all I suffered with you when I took you shopping today. But I guess it was worth it in the end," Naruto continued with a smile. "Even thought I'm 10,000 yen lighter. Like my new clothes?" she asked with suggestive pose. "Yeah, you look good, Naruto," Kiba commended without thinking. He blushed lightly when Sasuke, Shino and Sakura gave him a look. "I know," Naruto said as she began to strut. "I'm way hotter than any other girl in Konoha." "Ow, don't brag, idiot," Sakura said as she smacked Naruto for the 100th time that day. It even made her even angrier to admit that Naruto was right. She was one of the hottest girls she had ever seen, and the men of Konoha were starting to notice Naruto in only a few days that took her 7 agonizing years. "No fair. Ow, stop hitting me before I get a concussion, you violent maniac," Naruto snapped. "Anyway, aren't you supposed to go somewhere and have lunch with your sassy-chan?" Kiba snickered despite the death glare Sassy was giving him. "Oi Kiba, help me with my bags," Naruto said, tossing a few bags to the dog master, which he caught with amazing accuracy. "I'm not your servant. Carry your own crap." Naruto puckered her lips. "Oh Kiba, please," she cooed. She batted her eyes cutely and eased up to Kiba's chest. "You're so strong." Kiba turned beet red. "I'm not falling for." Naruto squeezed his arm. "So manly strong. And I'm so tried and weak. Please help little ol' me," she pleaded shamelessly as she batted her eyelashes innocently. With a sigh, Kiba gave in. "Where do you live?" Sakura, Sasuke and Shino's sweat dropped. "This way," Naruto pointed. "Thank you so much, Kiba-kun." "Whatever," Kiba grumbled, more in embarrassment than annoyance. Behind Kiba's back, Naruto gave the onlookers V for victory. When the pair was out of sight, Sakura snorted aloud. Kiba rolled over like a kicked puppy on a leash. Shino just sighed and walked home. Naruto woke up a few days later with a stomachache. Moaning, Naruto turned over. The pain only increased. Naruto curled herself up into a ball, wrapping her arms over her stomach. "I guess I shouldn't have eaten that 8th noodle cup," she thought groggily. She sat up slowly to get some Tums when she noticed how damp she was between her legs. She pulled back the bed sheet and to her horror found scarlet blood soaked into her bedding. Hinata Hyuga was absent-mindedly walking toward the training grounds. Even though Team Kurenai had long been dispersed, she and her teammates still meet up for morning practice when they weren't away on missions. Hinata's heart quickened. Naruto-kun?" she gasped. She could see Naruto approaching her. She hadn't been able to meet the new Naruto. It was hard to believe. Her crush, the man she dreamed of marrying someday, was no longer a man but a woman. She wouldn't have believed it herself if she hadn't caught a glimpse of Naruto chasing an unwise shinobi, who tried to grope her, over the rooftops, swearing and throwing kunais with frightening accurate aim at his family's jewels. It was too soon to see him, her, again. "Oh Kami, please help me Hinata, I'm dying." Naruto slouched to the ground and gripped on the ends Hinata's jacket. Hinata was alarmed. First she looked for superficial injury and found none. She then activated her Byakugan for internal bleeding. Again, nothing was wrong. "I can't find anything wrong with you Naruto-kun." "There is." Naruto protested. "I'm bleeding in between my legs." Oh Kami. Hinata turned beet red. Now she knew the problem. Naruto-kun, why you're not dying?" "No." Naruto grabbed hold of Hinata's collar and shook the girl. "Then why am I bleeding?" Huh, she cried frantic. "Why you're having your first period, Naruto." "Stop, why you're hurting me." Naruto loosened her grip as she peered into Hinata's face questioningly. "Period? What period?" Hinata whimpered. She felt a fainting spell coming on. "You know, your little G-garden," she tried to explain timidly. Naruto looked at Hinata like the Hyuga heiress had flipped. "What does a garden have to deal with me bleeding like someone stabbed me in the butt?" It's obvious Naruto never had the talk. Hinata had hers at age 7 since her body developed so quickly at a young age. She remembered the two main rules her father stressed. 1. Never let any man touch you, you ally, unless he is your husband, to preserve the dignity of not only yourself but the clans. 2. No bastards will be allowed in my house, so make sure to follow rule number 1 or I will disown you. Pushing aside the rules, Hinata asked, "Naruto-kun, you know that girls have babies, right?" "Yeah, well since you're a girl now, you can have babies, women have eggs and men, sperm. The reason why you bleed is because your egg for this month has expired." "Oh," Naruto mumbled airily before she passed out cold. Naruto-kun. Neji and Tenten were exhausted. Not because they had completed their 100th lap around Konoha or because they had done 2001 hand push-ups. No, that seemed nothing in comparison to watching the battle between Konoha's infamous green beasts. A one-in-a-lifetime event. Might Guy vs. Rock Lee. The landscape in Training Ground 13 was hardly recognizable anymore. Neji deactivated his Byakugan and pulled a few twigs out of his long mane before helping up his teammate Tenten. The two had spent the last hour just trying to avoid being hit by a primary Lotus Jutsu and they were on the sidelines. "Lee, I am so proud of you," Guy said to his student. Master and student were standing in the middle of the torn terrain. Both looked worse for wear, but Guy looked like he hardly could stand. Lee wiped the tears from his eyes. "Oh Guy-sensei." "Lee, no." Guy placed his hands on Lee's shoulders. "I am no longer your sensei. This battle has proven that you have surpassed me." "Guy say? Guy? Lee, I." Lee cried, falling into his former teacher's embrace. Guy hugged him tightly with tears streaming down his face. "Oh Lee, it's all right. Don't be sad from this healthy youthful change." Meanwhile Tenten and Neji stood off to the side looking like they wanted to puke. "Ew," Tenten yelped. She closed her eyes and shook her head violently. "Well, that's one thing I'll never miss." She then sighed. "Neji, how did we survive all these years?" she asked the only sane member of Team Guy besides herself. "Tolerance?" Neji answered through clenched teeth. "Lots and lots of tolerance. Tolerance my hind. I need sake to cope," Tenten announced, turning away. "Coming, Neji? They won't miss us." Neji looked back at the scene. A golden sunset could now be seen glowing behind Lee and Guy. "I'm right behind you, Tenten." Naruto was in a bad mood after waking up. First she gets turned into a girl and a few days later she gets her first period? Life was so wrong. Hinata had left her sitting at a tea stand while she went to the convenience store for Motrin and sanitary napkins. Naruto was content to just sit there and mind her own business until she felt a pair of eyes on her. She ignored it at first, but the staring wouldn't go away. She looked up to see that those scrutinizing eyes belonged to Neji. Tenten was currently inside a local restaurant with her boyfriend, Tanbo, whom she and Neji ran into on the way there. So Neji just decided to give them some space and left only to run across Naruto Uzumaki, or so he thought. "What the hell are you looking at white eyes?" Naruto demanded, glaring. Beat it, Neji, before I beat you. Neji's jaw slacked. Who are you? He cleared his throat. You reminded me of someone, my mistake. I guess I would. Idiot, Naruto spat. Because I am Naruto Uzumaki. Is this a prank? Neji asked, crossing his arms. He remembered Naruto's infamous Why no Jutsu. Naruto cracked her knuckles. Let's find out together, Neji. Come at me and you'll get the answer. Hinata was on her way back with the items when she saw the scene unfold in front of her. No, she shouted, flinging herself between them, trying to keep her cousin and her ex-crush from going at it. She smiled nervously at Neji. Never mind, Naruto-kun. She's going through her first SP special time of the month, Hinata explained. In a rare Kodak moment, Neji Hyuga was left utterly speechless. So the rumors were true. He overheard several conversations stating that Naruto had an accidental change but dismissed them immediately because they sounded utterly ridiculous. However, the proof was right before him and he didn't need the Byakugan to see it. 30 minutes after Naruto took the painkillers, she was back to her jolly hyperactive self. In gratitude, she decided to treat out Hinata to a dango shop for her help. Neji was invited to join them, but he had to pay for his own food. Not that he complained. He chewed slowly as he listened carefully to Naruto's tale. It sounded well rehearsed, like she had explained it 100 times already, probably because she has. Neji kept stealing glances at Naruto whenever he thought she was preoccupied with Hinata. He admitted that Naruto's feminine form was gorgeous, although mentally she remained the same. Dense as ever. Accidentally, Neji's arm brushed up against Naruto's and he felt a jolt. Ow! Naruto whimpered. Stupid static electricity, she rubbed her elbow. She then grinned mischievously at Neji. Or maybe you're such a turn on, Neji, she joked. Neji scoffed, turning away so his blush couldn't be seen. Hinata had a small smile on her face, but her eyes held a different emotion, though, a bittersweet look. She offered Neji an encouraging smile before she excusing herself. Oi, why are you leaving? Naruto asked, a bit disappointed. Is everything okay? She asked. Still moving toward the door, Hinata pressed her fingers together hesitantly and answered, everything's fine. I just have tea to go, eep. Ooh, careful there, Hinata, Tenten said as Hinata bumped into her on the way out. Hinata had an expression on her face that reminded Tenten of sweet and sour sauce. Happy but sad, stealing a glance at Naruto, she automatically knew why. Like everyone else in Konoha, she knew of Hinata's long-term crush on the blonde and she couldn't even begin to imagine what she was going through inside. Hinata muttered an apology before running off. Tenten watched her go with a hint of pity in her eyes before turning her attention to her comrade. Yo, Neji. Tenten lifted the flap and entered the restaurant. Why did you take off just like that? I decided to give you and your boyfriend some privacy, he responded. It's okay, you could have stayed, it wasn't like me and Tanbo were doing anything mushy. Neji gave her a flat look that said blankly, I still remember last time. Tenten chuckled nervously. Hey Naruto. She greeted the blonde in hopes of changing subject. How's womanhood treating you? Bad, the blonde responded. A cute pout formed on her lips. It sucks. I'm having my first period today and it hurts like hell. I have to stay high on painkillers or I'll be bitchy to everyone. You poor thing, Tenten said with full empathy. You can try heating pads to help in between the pills. It'll get better after a few days, promise. Neji decided girl talk wasn't his thing. Ma'am, he called to the waitress. Bring the check for all three. The woman nodded before walking back into the kitchen. Tenten was floored. You're paying for yours, Hinata's and Naruto's meal? She asked Neji incredulously. Yes, Neji raised his eyebrow, silently asking what was the big deal. Well, don't take this the wrong way, Neji, but you're a cheapskate, Tenten told him flatly. Besides, you never paid for any of my meals. Neji glared at her, blunt as ever. Tenten. Naruto's face lit up like a lamp. Really, Neji? Neji nodded. Thanks, she squealed happily. I owe you one. See you around, Neji. Bye, Tenten, she said before leaving. Tenten then looked back at Neji. Her comrade was still staring at Naruto's retreating back. Tenten inwardly sniggered. Neji was such an open book once you got to know him. Neji turned to her when he noticed the stare. What? Tenten's face broke out into an impish grin. Oh, nothing, I just see what's going on, she singed. Neji crossed his arms and closed his silver eyes. Really? He said coolly. Yeah, you're digging Naruto-chan. Neji nearly fell sideways. No, he scoffed as his fair cheeks flared with heat. He cleared his throat as he composed himself. Don't be absurd, Tenten, he responded through clenched teeth. Really, the bun-haired girl pressed on. This was so much fun. This was only third time in 6 years was she able to toy with Neji, and she's not letting this rare opportunity slip by just yet. I thought you liked Hinata at first, but now I see you're starting to like Naruto. The poor Hyuga wanted to die right on the spot. Hinata-sama is my cousin. I do not have romantic feelings toward her. Suwar and Naruto? I don't like her like that. Right, Tenten said with a knowing smirk. Not yet, but there's something there isn't, Neji-kun? At least admit that. Neji felt the veins on the side of his head pop. There's nothing to admit. Why, you're crazy, he snapped. Neji was grateful when the waitress came back with the check. He paid and left the shop, hoping Tenten wouldn't pursue him any further. Unfortunately and rather expectedly, Tenten followed him. You're not getting away that easily, the bun-haired girl thought. Come on Neji, ask Naruto out on a date. No, do it. I'm not going to date Naruto. Till next week, tee-hee. Tenten, stay out of it. Tenten skidded in front of Neji, cutting him off. Looking straight in his eyes she said, come on Neji, you and Naruto has been through a lot of shit in your lives. I think you guys can find some happiness together just like me and Tanbo did. The Hyuga fell silent as he took in her words. They were hogwash, but hey, he could dream. Tenten saw the wheels spinning in Neji's head. Bravely she asked, so what do you think? Nothing, the Hyuga prodigy said hauntingly. He shifted past her and walked on. This time Tenten didn't follow. Just think about it, you pompous stick in the mud. She called after him. Okay? Neji stopped for a brief second. No, I won't allow myself to believe hogwash that will never be. Deciding against answering the brunette, he continued on his way. Humph, Tenten said offended, but then she giggled. She had the strangest feeling things were about to get interesting in Konoha, and it all had to do with a whiskered cheek, blue-eyed, blonde-haired transwal. Tenten then went off to find Hinata. Hopefully the poor girl was done crying her heart out about now. The room was lilted with candles. Naruto bent down and pressed her fat ass against Sasuke's bare chest. Ooh Sassy-chan, you're so hard. She teased giddily. With a smirk Sasuke caressed Naruto's whiskered cheek. You seen nothing yet, Naru-chan, he said seductively. Sasuke gasped as he woke up. He wiped the sweat off his brow. His heart was pounding. Suddenly he felt wetness between his legs. No I didn't, he gasped as he lifted the covers. Sure enough, he did. Sasuke's cheeks burned crimson. His pajama bottoms and his sheets were now wet. With a sigh he got up to change. He first went to the bathroom to take a shower and then changed into clean PJs. I can't believe I did that, he chided to himself as he began to switch out the bedding. Sasuke wouldn't have been half freaked out if the dreams were of Sakura, but it was Naruto. Naruto, the blonde idiot who recently went all girl. He was having wet dreams over him. Well her now. His best friend, his rival, Okami. Sasuke collapsed on top on the sheets when he finished remaking the bed. He tried to drift back to sleep, but as soon as his eyes fluttered closed, a vision of Naruto in a tight naughty nurse uniform was there to greet him. Oh Sasuke-koi, it's time for your shoot, she cooed, winking suggestively. Sasuke's eyes shot open. Oh, this was going to be a long night. Naruto is late again, that dolt. Sakura complained. Even you're here on time for once. She pointed to the silver-haired Junin who was couched down with his little orange book. His ninja dog Pak-kun was sitting in his lap. Sasuke is late too, you know, he replied nonchalantly. He turned the page. Well, I'm sure he had a really good reason. Sakura defended. Hi, sorry I'm late guys. Naruto yelled, running toward the training grounds. Her was flopping around like water balloons. I had problems with my bra and Naruto. Sakura chided. You're an embarrassment to women everywhere. She pointed at the blonde's chest with disgust while Kakashi was too engrossed into his book to spare a glance. Though Sakura would never admit it, her disgust was more of envy than anything. Naruto's chest wasn't as large as Tsunade's, but they were still in the double D's bra sizes. Naruto placed her arm across her chest. I still have a problem. Can you help me out, Sakura-chan? Sakura rolled her eyes and pulled Naruto to the woman's bathroom. As soon as Naruto and Sakura left, Sasuke arrived. By that time Kakashi had finally reached the end of chapter 13. He looked up from his book with a raised sliver eyebrow. What happened to you? You look like something that one of my shinobi dogs dragged in. Hey, Pak-kun said offended. I'll let you know I bring better looking things than that. Sasuke sent the pair a tired glare. He rubbed the dark circles under his black eyes. I was up late last night, that's all. Doing what? Uchiha merely glared in reply. The dog Pak-kun sniffed the air before climbing into Kakashi's lap and whispered something in his ear. Kakashi thought for a moment before grinning fondly. Ah, so my grown-up pupil is having wet dreams, no? Sasuke's pale cheeks flushed with color. If he could have died from embarrassment, he would have. Kakashi's hentai grin went wider. It's in your scent, Pak-kun explained with doggish smirk. Don't worry, it'll wear off in another hour or so. Sasuke stared down at the shinobi dog with his famous Uchiha death glare. Pak-kun gulped. I just remembered Kakashi, I have a bone to bury, bye. He disappeared in a puff of smoke. Hello Sassy-chan. Sakura greeted happily. Sasuke winced. That nickname was getting old, fast. He turned to see Naruto and Sakura coming toward him. Sakura threw herself into the stoical teen's arms and kissed him on the cheek. Good morning, Sakura, Sasuke replied indifferently. His eyes drifted to Naruto. He nodded his head to his blonde comrade. Naruto, he addressed. With a wide mischievous grin Naruto greeted, Kami. Sasuke teme you look like a raccoon, tee-hee. She laughed. And you look like a ditzy cheerleader, Sasuke replied automatically. Hey, it's true. Cut it out, Kakashi said. He stood up. We're all Junin here, act like it please, he urged. Speak for yourself, Naruto shouted unblushingly. Get rid of those perverted books and then you can lecture me, you pervy shinobi. Kakashi coughed into his hand. Well, since everyone is here now, we will begin. Today's training is all out sparring. I'll battle Sakura and Sasuke will battle Naruto-chan, he added with a grin in his tone. Naruto growled like a rabid wolf. Why you? Come on Dobi, let's go, Sasuke said. He wrenched himself free from Sakura's iron grip and walked on ahead. We'll train near the end of the field. Kakashi, you train here with Sakura, he said to his former teacher. Alright, the sliver-haired Junin agreed. He puts away his book, knowing he had to give this battle his full attention. Ready Sakura? He asked. Sakura positioned herself. Cha, with a grin she shouted, bring it on. Sasuke learned the hard way that gender shouldn't be taken for granted. Naruto may be a girl now, but the two rivals were duking it out just as fierce as they would as males. Actually Sasuke felt like he had to work harder. Sure, Naruto's limbs were shorter but it didn't help him none. Naruto's punches still hurt like a bitch, chakra levels just as colossal. However, her speed and agility had increased, making it harder to land hits. If he didn't have the Sharingan, the Uchiha doubted he could keep up. Chidori, Rasengan, they collided together. The dust cleared slowly. Sasuke felt like he couldn't breathe, he coughed. He noticed the weight on his chest. He was lying flat out on his back with a weight on his abdomen. Sasuke's pale cheeks turned the shade of a tomato when he realized that Naruto was lying on top of him. What an embarrassing predicament. Naruto, Sasuke said, but it came out as a strangled whisper. Naruto moaned and shifted. Naruto, Sasuke hissed louder. Naruto sat up slowly with Sasuke between her legs. She sat on the teen. She looked down at the Uchiha with a confused look. She blinked. What? Oh, that attack, she recalled. Are you okay, Teme? She asked the boy beneath her. Sasuke felt himself hardening again. Oh Kami, this was the last thing he needed. He was already having fantasies and now this happened? Naruto, get off me, Sasuke, he stressed with a hint of desperation in his usual stoic voice. Huh? Naruto questioned. Why did the Dobi have to be so innocent-like? It was even more of an allure. Sasuke cleared his throat and shifted his legs. It made it worse. Naruto's eyes widened in realization. Oh, she yelped as she scurried off, Sasuke accidentally pressing her knee against his precious jewels. Sasuke's back arched involuntarily as he jerked off. Arg, curse that idiot. Huh? Teme? Naruto questioned, wondering why the Uchiha was still sprawled out on the ground, twitching slightly. Sasuke merely groaned in reply. He was just thankful his boxers were thick. Little accidents, eh? Whispered a voice softly. You two have just inspired a new scene in my Itazurana kiss book. Sasuke and Naruto looked up to see their former sensei gazing down at them with an amused grin. The pervert? The two younger Junins were startled. How long had copycat Kakashi been standing there? It was just a mishap, that's all. Naruto said, scared. She made an X with her arms. Like I ever fall for an arrogant, stuck-up, selfish, pricky, teme like Sasuke. I mean ew. Naruto then gagged, tongue hanging out of her mouth. Sasuke's eye twitched. Like you're a basket of roses yourself, baka, he growled. Slowly he sat up, resuming his trademark aloofness. Where is Sakura? He asked Kakashi. She's still battling against my shadow clone, Kakashi answered with a hint of disappointment in his voice. TCH, figures. When a female nin falls in love, there goes their career as a shinobi. Sad but true. It happened to Kurenai, Ino, Tenten, and now it's happening to little Sakura. He shook his head. And eventually Naruto. Sasuke and Naruto exchanged awkward looks. Naruto scratched the back of her head nervously. Look Granny Tsunade wanted to talk with me about something, so I'll be on my way. See you later guys, Naruto said, excusing herself. Sasuke watched dumbfounded as Naruto left the training grounds. The ex-Avenger felt rather disconcerted that Naruto didn't look back. Kakashi's eyes held a thoughtful look in them. Also, those dreams weren't about Sakura, he mentioned absent-mindedly. Sasuke stiffened. He should have known how observant his former teacher could be. Sometimes he really hated Kakashi. He stood up on his feet in a huff and shot his silver-haired elder a glare. The silver-haired Junin shook his head. I won't get in your business, but I'll say one thing. Sakura and Naruto are my comrades. In fact, I consider them as my godchildren. Don't do something stupid to hurt them again, or you're not getting off easily as last time, Kakashi warned darkly, then his face lit up. Well, I must be off. My clone just popped and I don't need Sakura thinking I'm skipping out on her. In a puff of smoke he was gone. Sasuke stood there long after Kakashi left, frozen to the spot. His inner desires scaring him senselessly. It was an accident, so why'd I feel so weird? Naruto mumbled to herself as she aimlessly walked down the street. She had no intention of going to see the hag. It was only an excuse to get away from the awkward situation. They no doubt knew it was a lie too. Suddenly the hairs on Naruto's neck suddenly stood up. She was being followed. She turned her head around to spot a figure peeping at her from behind a lamppost. Naruto blinked. Hinata? She asked. With a sigh, the Hyuga heiress stepped out. Hello Naruto-kun, she greeted uneasily. Embarrassed to be caught doing something so silly. She was not a little girl anymore but a clan heiress. She still doubted she could ever play the part right. Hiya, Naruto greeted loudly, happy for a distraction. Hinata flinched. Would you like to catch brunch with me, Hinata? Just the two of us, my treat. Hinata was surprised. Naruto was asking her out again, as a girl. Her heart fell into the pit of her stomach. Oh okay, she agreed disheartened. Naruto smiled brightly, not noticing. Wow Hinata, you're turning into my new best friend. The blonde exclaimed. She grabbed her in a hug. Is Ichiraku's okay? Hinata nodded with a small smile as she followed Naruto to the ramen stand. The blonde chatted happily away about unimportant stuff, but it barely touched the surface of her mind. If only you were a man, Naruto-kun. Hinata thought sadly, but then she shrugged it off. Friendship was better than nothing. Oh Sakura-chan, why? Lee cried aloud as he broke down into tears again. Tenten sighed as she passed the tissue box to Lee. Poor Lee had just discovered the relationship between his crush Sakura and his one-sided rival, Sasuke Uchiha. When the dozen roses he had sent that morning to his dear Sakura-chan was returned to his doorstep along with a note of explanation. He blew his nose. Oh Sakura, my beautiful blossom of youth. My joy of the spring morning, oh, how could you? Lee groped Tenten and sobbed into her shoulder, smearing her with his boogers. Tenten winced. Ew, Kami Lee, she said irritably. She grabbed him by the throat and shook him violently. Get a life. There are plenty fish in the sea. But there's only one Saaakkkkkuuuurrrraa. Oh please Lee, she has a violent temper, a wide forehead and a shapeless body, for Pete's sake. What's there to be attracted to? Tenten was never one to judge people so harshly, but today she was to the point. Her favorite shirt was boogerized now because of the girl. Don't say such cruel and unyouthful things about Sakura-chan. Tenten gave him a leveled look. Well, you didn't say untrue, she pointed out. Despite her faults, she is like a stream ever flowing from the eternal fountain of youth. Who will quench my thirst now? Tenten growled. Neji, do something. She snapped at her brunette comrade who was sitting off to the side drinking his green tea calmly without a care despite the commotion Lee was causing. Neji looked up. Lee, Tenten is right. Get over it. There are other girls. He took a long sip of tea. Tenten sent the Hyuga a murderous look. Lee jabbed a demanding finger in Neji's face. Like who? Name one whose beauty is fairer than the cherry trees in the spring, or whose kindness and wisdom is deeper than the deepest sea, he demanded. Kami, stop with the metamorphic poetry already. Tenten snapped. One more word of youth, or spring, and she promised to beat Lee into unconsciousness. Neji lowered his teacup. His face hard and unreadable. After a minute of silence he spoke 2 words. Uzumaki Naruto, he said absent-mindedly. What? Lee mumbled. Surely he heard Neji wrong. I said Uzumaki Naruto. He is a she now, Neji repeated a bit slower. Though I myself am not infatuated with her. Tenten coughed into her hand to hide a laugh. Naruto is kind, determined, wise, in her own way of course, and if I may be so bold to say, breathtakingly beautiful. Eyes of sapphire, golden hair, ruby lips of the sunset, and has a smile that will make Guy-sensei proud to see. Yes, all in all, a fish worthy to be caught and placed on a pedestal. Lee sat back stunned. Tenten whistled and sent Neji a sly look. Are you sure you don't like Naruto-kun? Neji scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. Oh yeah, I forgot Hinata-chan's eyes are like silver glass swathed with long eyelashes and has fair skin so beautifully pale that it would put the moon goddess to shame. Full pink lips soft as rose petals. Enough, Neji interrupted. Now if you all would excuse me, I need to go grocery shopping. Thank you for your hospitality, Tenten. And Lee, I hope you find some sanity. We'll come with you, Tenten announced. I need to pick up a few spices. Lee's coming too. He's so fast that he can grab the first place in the checkout line. She grabbed the taijutsu master by the collar and dragged him, literally, out her apartment. Neji sent them a wearied look. His afternoon has just gotten unexpectedly longer. Aha, a carton of 2% milk, eggs, low-sodium ramen, MSG-free soy sauce, salad mix, grapes, plums, strawberry pocky, salt-free seasoning and chop suey. Naruto muttered to herself as she checked off her grocery list. It was strange to shop in her female form. Funny things started happening to her. Now she actually counted calorie intake, preferred low-fat items and stayed away from sugary desserts. Naruto figured it was instinct to crave those things in order to keep her feline shape. Just then she saw a rotund woman waddle past her. Maybe not. Naruto picked up a packet of sugar-free snack bars with a shrug and journeyed to the checkout lines. All the lines were long except for one that just opened up on the end. Using her shinobi speed, Naruto rushed to get there first only to collide with a green blur. Oof! Naruto yelped as she got acquainted with the tile floor. Oh, I'm so sorry ma'am. Naruto almost got whiplash from being pulled up so quickly. I was not watching where I was going and I sincerely apologize for, Naruto-kun. Naruto blinked as she focused her eyes. Lee? She questioned. Naruto-kun, Lee said, his bug eyes nearly popping out of his skull. His face turned a shade of reed. Let me help you pick up your items, he said brightly. Okay thanks, so how's it going Fuzzy Brows? Fuzzier Brows sensei doing okay? Yes, he's doing well. Lee watched Naruto out of the corner of his eye. Long blonde hair streaked down into her face, hair like the sparking sun. Blue eyes like the sea. Neji was not lying, Naruto was indeed beautiful. When Lee accidentally touched Naruto's hand, he blushed like he just had a serving of the curry of life. Lee, are you okay? Naruto asked concerned. You look like you're having an allergic reaction or something. Lee grabbed Naruto's hands, shocking the blonde. Naruto-chan, is this permanent? Don't call me that. What is permanent? This gender change. Yeah, the cursed springs are dried up. Granny Tsunade sent a team search for it but it lead to dead ends, Naruto said dejectedly. She blinked curiously. Why? Lee smiled wider, tightening his hold on Naruto's hands. Naruto began to get nervous. Lee, She shook her hands trying to loosen Lee's iron grip. Then Naruto noticed the heart-shaped eyes. "Lee, what are you thinking?" Naruto asked, almost scared of his answer. She began to shake her hands like crazy to get him to let go. "Naruto-chan, I said don't call me that. Naruto-kun, I know it's soon, but do you think, Yao?" Neji had, accidentally, bumped Lee hard on the back of his head with his knee. "Sorry about that, Lee, I didn't see you. Naruto, are you alright?" He extended a hand to her. Blinkingly Naruto took it. "I'm fine thanks." "Lee, why are you laying down on the job?" Tenten came around the corner pushing a full cart of groceries. "You were supposed to snag that line, oh hey Naruto-kun." "Small world, eh?" she asked with a smile. Naruto nodded. "Yeah, you can say that, Neji?" "Yes?" Naruto looked uncomfortable. "You can let go of my hand now." Aye. Neji stuttered dumbly. Suddenly reality settled back in. Immediately he dropped Naruto's hand as if it was on fire. "Okay," Naruto said, slowly easing herself back in line. Luckily her mind was distracted by Tenten, who began chatting with her about recent missions. Lee and Neji were both sulking at the end of the line. Lee peered over suspiciously at Neji several times, wanting to engage in conversation but never did. Neji never missed any attempt but ignored Lee for now. He was currently in emotional turmoil. What were these feelings? First, jealous just because Lee was helping Naruto, and the overwhelming urge to hold onto Naruto's hand. Such aggressiveness he never felt toward Lee till now. He knew what it was but didn't want to admit it. "Neji-kun," Lee finally addressed. Neji sighed, closing his eyes. "What?" he snapped. "Do you have feelings for Naruto-kun?" Neji snorted. "Not in this life." Lee looked pumped suddenly, his eyes burning like fire. "Yosh, wonderful." He groped Neji into a hug. Neji in return, drop-kicked Lee. "I've told not to hug me like that." Neji hissed. "Forgive me dearest friendly rival," Lee said, picking himself up from the ground. "I was come with joy. I would never pursue a woman my friend was interested in. But now that I know you don't care for Naruto in those ways, I am free to court her." Lee flashed the good guy pose at Neji. "Of course," Neji replied slowly. He suddenly felt so small. Thank goodness the cashier was fast and was able to check both Neji and Lee out quickly. Naruto was still taking with Tenten when the men came out. Suddenly Lee had an idea. Puffing out his chest out. "Naruto-kun, please allow me to carry home your stuff," he begged. "A lady such as yourself should not be burdened down with heavy bags." Naruto eased back a little. Trying to wave him off with a laugh, she said, "Heh, I'll be fine, Lee. I'm not your average girly girl." Naruto saluted the taijutsu specialist. She winked. Later fuzzy brows. Lee placed a hand over his heart. "Oh Naruto-chan," he whispered as he watched her walk away. "You have reignited the youthful passion of love within my heart." Naruto stopped and looked back, blinking. "Said something, Lee?" Flustered Lee shook his head furiously. No, nothing. It was the wind, Naruto-kun." He gave her the big thumbs up. Naruto shrugged. "Okay," she said and went along her way. "Oh Lee-kun," Tenten called with a sweet smile fitted for the cat who swallowed a dozen canaries. "Well, since women shouldn't be burdened down with heavy bags, here." She shoved her bags into Lee's arms. Neji just shook his head. He had a lot of things to mediate on tonight. Sasuke didn't know why, but he felt strangely empty without his daily dose of stupidity from Naruto. The blonde had been avoiding him since their awkward training session. He had been glad for it, but at the same time he felt neglected. Suddenly walking out a shop was a girl in bright orange shorts and a jacket to match. Sasuke could recognize that fashion sense from anywhere. A package fell out of her grocery bags. Sasuke scooped it up. "Dobi," Sasuke called to her. She didn't hear him. "Naruto." The blonde turned around with a surprised look. "Sasuke, hi Teme," she said, but her voice lacked its usual fire. "You dropped this?" Sasuke tossed her the box. It was sanitary pads. Naruto chuckled in embarrassment. Thanks," she tucked it away quickly. The two stood in an uneasy silence. Naruto finding the ground fascinating to look at as she felt Sasuke's eyes burning a hole through her. People walked around them disinterested. "So," Sasuke said, a weak attempt to break the silence. "I haven't seen you around lately. You okay?" "Yeah, how's Sakura-chan?" Naruto asked. Hesitantly she looked up at Sasuke but still avoided eye contact. I haven't seen her lately either. Sasuke felt a little put out. She didn't even ask about me. Shifting his weight on his left leg he answered, she's fine. She's on a mission. She won't be back for a week or so. Okay, is that Gaara-kun? Naruto asked surprised. She was looking over Sasuke's shoulder when she spotted a young man with short bright red hair and dark circles around his eyes. Following him was a man dressed in black with large scrolls tied onto his back. Hey, it's Gaara and Kankuro, Naruto said excitedly. She shoved her bags into Sasuke's arms and left him, running toward the Suna brothers. Hey Gaara, she yelled. Gaara looked over with his pale jade eyes going wide in shock. A blonde girl in pigtails was running in his direction through the crowd. Why was a girl besides Tamari or Matsuri calling him so causally? And a pretty girl at that. Kankuro chuckled. Is she your girl? He teased his younger brother. I never seen her before in my life. Once Naruto realized she had Gaara's attention she smiled widely and waved like a maniac. Kankuro smirked. Well, she seems to know you. Go for it, she's hot. I have no time for petty relationships, Gaara replied. He turned to walk away only to find himself stopped by two graceful arms wrapped around his waist in a hug. His surprise increased. 1. His sand didn't block interaction with the strange girl. 2. He was being hugged by a complete stranger. 3. He actually enjoyed being touched, and 4. He didn't understand the vibes his body was giving out, and what he didn't understand, he didn't like. With a scowl he said coldly, "Release me." The girl did as she was told but seemed to ignorant of his cold vibes. So how's it shaking Cage? What are you doing back in Konoha? The girl asked loudly with a genuine smile that threatened to slice off her face. Gaara winced. Gee, was his ear beginning to bleed? What a voice. Beautiful but loud. Kankuro massaged his ears. We're not deaf, ya know. Come to think of it. The girl reminded Gaara of someone special. He then looked at her. No, really looked at her. If Gaara could have a stroke at 19, he would have. The girl looked just like Naruto. The same whisker-marked cheeks, the same luscious blonde hair and the same sparkling baby blue eyes. The only difference was a beautiful curvy body of the female anatomy. He didn't know Uzumaki had a sibling, joy to the world. Tell me, Gaara said. Who are you? Suddenly the girl looked confused. Her eyes slightly widened in realization. She then smacked herself on the forehead. Oh man, sorry, she said. I forgot. Hey Gaara, I know it's weird but hear me out, I'm Naruto. Gaara and Kankuro blinked several times. Okay, Kankuro said slowly. Come again? You heard me, cat-eared hoodie. Naruto tilted her head high in confidence. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. She then went on to explain her situation. Kankuro was the first to speak up after Naruto was through. Okay, let me get this straight. You are now stuck as a girl forever because you were dumb enough to drink water from the cursed Nanichuan springs? He shook his head. Gee, you're getting slower and slower. If you still plan on being Hokage, I worry for Konoha's future. It was an honest mistake, you could have even made you insensitive prick. Naruto bit back. Kankuro snorted. I doubt that, but I do feel bad for you. It must really suck, being a girl, I mean, of all things. Naruto sighed. I know, but being a girl is not so bad. It's just the periods that are bad. The bloating, the cramping and the sticky stinky blood. Man, I thought I was dying when I got mine for the fur. Whoa. Kankuro held up his arms in surrender. That's enough info, thank you very much. Gaara meanwhile scarcely heard them. He stood there quiet as the grave with his arms folded across his chest. His eyes were unfocused and his face held a delicate, thoughtful look. Uzumaki was now a girl permanently until death. Gaara's fingers tapped his elbows. He had mixed feelings about Naruto's situation. 1. He, like Kankuro, felt pity for their friend's lack of masculinity. However, 2. Uzumaki was now fair game. Gaara always had a soft spot for Naruto. After all, she was the only one that understood his pain and released him from his corrupted ways by example. They both had monsters sealed into them at birth, but Naruto chose to protect the ones who despised him while Gaara chose to destroy and kill. In the end, Naruto's ambition had won out and inspired Gaara to do the same in order to have a reason to exist, To have a purpose in serving others than yourself. Hello Gaara? Healu? Gaara blinked to see a graceful hand waved in front of his face. Naruto looked at him concernedly. Are you okay? Kankuro chuckled. I guess you left my little brother dumbfounded. Good job. He congratulated Naruto. Gaara surpassed a glare. You were unfortunate, however there are worser things, he said in condolence. Naruto nodded with a sad grin. I know that's why I don't feel too bad. Anyway, are you hungry, Gaara? I am, Kankuro answered. I wasn't asking you, puppet boy. Naruto snapped. Gaara blinked at how quick Naruto changed the subject. Yes, I and Kankuro were actually on our way to a restaurant until we ran into you. Okay, great. Naruto cheered, hopping up and down. I'll treat both of you then. Since you're in my neck of the lands, you'll be my guest. She took but Kankuro and Gaara by the hand and dragged them down the street. I'm taking you to Ichiraku's stand. It's a great place to get dumplings, takoyaki, fish cakes and especially ramen. She said happily. You'll love it. For Kami's sake, slow down. Kankuro yelled. He barely kept up at Naruto's pace. Gaara followed a bit easier since he wasn't carrying his gourd of dirt. He mind still in a state of shock by all this. Naruto was a girl and now lunch? Wham, wham. Sasuke meanwhile was standing back there like an idiot with Naruto's bags as she ran off with Kankuro and Gaara. She forgot all about me. That ungrateful ditzy doby, Sasuke thought sourly as his eyebrows twitched. Picking up the last of his dignity, he turned on his heel and walked home. She would have to come to him eventually if she wanted her stuff. The trio ordered drinks, but that's as far as they got. The Suna boys were a little put out at how limited the menu was at Ichiraku's stand. Unlike Gaara, Kankuro made his opinion known. He rounded to Naruto. I'm starting to think you came here more for yourself than us. Hey, Naruto snapped. Beggars can't be choosers. We didn't beg, you dragged us here. Well, no one is asking you to stay. Go somewhere and play with your dolls, Barbie. Hey, they're not dolls. Naruto rolled her eyes. Action figures, whatever. They're mechanical battle puppets, idiot. I've killed over 1547 people with them. Naruto tilted her head and snorted. Dolls with a few blades, big deal. I can beat the stuffing out your teddies any day of the week. Why you? Gaara was losing his Buddha-like patience. First of all, he was sitting between the two at the stand and they were nearly busting out his eardrums with their petty argument. 2. He was famished and the aroma of food wasn't helping. 3. He didn't care for ramen, but he just wanted to get some food in his stomach. Both of you be quiet, Gaara ordered in a low-pitched tone. Immediately both Kankuro and Naruto fell silent. Kankuro, shut up and accept Uzumaki's generosity. Naruto, order the food or I'll be leaving. Geez. Okay. Naruto pouted. She snatched a menu from the counter. No need to get snappy, you deranged raccoon. Kankuro gasped and scooted his stool away. He expected Gaara to raise sand at any second to crush or scare the blonde into the netherworld, but Gaara didn't. He just sat there. He only said 4 words. Don't call me that, and that was it. So there is a Kami. Naruto shrugged nonchalantly. Well, you are, she replied with a bright smile. From now on I now deem you Ra-chan, she giggled. Gaara blinked. Kankuro snorted. Ra-chan? Yep, it's short for raccoon. Ra-chan. Isn't it cute? Naruto teased. So what do you guys want? Dumplings? Ramen? Name it. She must really want to die. Kankuro assumed. Once again to his amazement, Gaara didn't bust the cap on Naruto. All he did was reach for his tea, brought the hot liquid to his mouth and blew on it. I want pork buns and miso ramen, thanks. He took a long sip. Naruto grinned happily. Yeah, I love miso ramen too. She cheered. Are we soulmates or what? Gaara choked on his drink, spraying his clothes with tea while Kankuro did an undignified anime fall off the stool. Naruto gasped. Hey, are you okay? I was only joking. All crap, don't die on me, Ra-chan. I don't want Sanagakure demanding my blood in repayment. I'm fine, Gaara said. Naruto was about to wipe the boy's shirt with a napkin, but Gaara grabbed her wrist. Just order the food, he ordered sternly. Sure thing, Ra-chan, Naruto said. 40 minutes later, Naruto sighed contentedly as she wiped her mouth with a napkin. She had just finished her 4th bowl of ramen and was stuffed. She looked to her right. Gaara had a half a bowl of miso ramen left and was chewing on his last bun. Kankuro had devoured everything within a 12-inch radius. So is everyone good? Naruto asked. Are you guys want another round? Actually nope, full. Kankuro was about to ask for fifths but a hand formed from sand punched him in his gut. Gaara elegantly shoved the last bit of dumpling in his mouth. He chewed and swallowed. No, he answered. Okay. Naruto motioned to Tsuchi. Hey Pops, send the check. Naruto yelled. The old man nodded as his daughter Ayame handed the check over to Naruto with a sweet smile. Naruto looked at the bill. Not so bad. She took out her Gamma-chan wallet. When she was about to open it, Gaara's hand stopped her. I will pay, he said. Ra-chan, no. I promised it was my treat. Naruto howled. You did treat me, Gaara said. To informal company and genuine generosity. Informal and genuine? What are you blabbering about? Dining with friends is much better than with a bunch of old pious farts from the councils of Suna who only tolerate me because I am Cage, Gaara explained. So to show my appreciation, I will pay for the meal. Naruto pouted like a child. I'm not going to win this argument, am I? Gaara smirked. No, whatever Ra-chan. Naruto sighed as she tucked away her wallet. Muttering something about stupid raccoons, Naruto sulked with her arms folded across her bosom. Suddenly a thought came to her. She looked around her stool wildly. Oh crap, where's my bags? She yelped abruptly. What bag? You didn't have a bag when we first meet up. Kankuro said. You're totally a ditz. Naruto was too busy recalling her memory to retort. I was with Sasuke and oh no. Sasuke. I left him. When I saw you guys oh crap. Sasuke is probably so mad at me. She hopped off the stool and ran off. Thanks Gaara, bye guys. She yelled over her shoulder. Okay, bye ditz, Kankuro mumbled. He then caught the look Gaara was giving Naruto. Kankuro looked back and forth between Naruto's retrieving back and Gaara's longing stare. Several times he repeated this. He freaked. Oh Kami Gaara, don't tell me you got the hots for that dumb blonde, he gasped. I mean I was starting to think you were gay, so it's a relief you like girls, but still, Naruto, Kami no. Gaara glared at Kankuro. My feelings are of no concern to you, he said coldly. He gave the money to Ayame and left. Okay, sorry Gaara. Kankuro apologized quickly as he followed cautiously. He knew his limits. Gaara had more patience now than he ever had in his life, but sometimes he could still be temperamental. Let's meet up with Temari. Perhaps she is done visiting that bum, Shikamaru. Gaara nodded. And one more thing, Kankuro. Yeah, Gaara? Do I really seem like the type to you? Naruto looked up into the sky as she ran along. She had to hurry. It looked like it was going to rain. Ominous black clouds covered the once blue skies and the faint sound of thunder reached her ears. Even an idiot like her knew it was going to be a nasty storm later on this evening. She didn't stop running until she reached the gate of the Uchiha compound. Almost waveringly Naruto entered the complex. The place was dead. Lifeless. Even the vegetation had withered away. The buildings were beginning to decay with neglect, and when the wind blew, creaks were heard. Faintly she could hear the ghostly whispers of people, coming and going, all wearing the Uchiha symbol with pride. Then she heard the screams, the terror, swords piercing flesh, blood staining the ground red, the glowing red eyes of Itachi and Madara Uchiha. Naruto shook her head. She was scaring herself. Shivering, she wrapped her jacket closer to her body as she thought, how can Sasuke stand living here? You can find more cheer in a graveyard than this place. Finally she reached the middle of the compound where the mansion of the head family was located. Naruto hesitated before knocking on the door. Why did this feel so wrong? It's not like she was sneaking behind Sakura's back. They were only friends, and for Kami's sake. This is Sasuke, the princely emo bastard. Her best friend and rival. With her confidence restored, Naruto, a foxy smile crawled its way onto her lips. Naruto knocked. After a moment or two of nobody answering, she began to beat on the door furiously. Yo, Teme, I know you're here. I can sense your chakra signature. My, temperamental aren't we? Ek ghost. Naruto shrieked and slapped the person behind her without looking first. Naruto relaxed when she saw it was fuming Sasuke. Oh, it's you, Teme, she sighed in relief. Don't sneak up on me like that. Faye, Sasuke huffed. Gingerly he rubbed his swollen cheeks. Good reflexes, he commended. You got both sides. Naruto huffed. A blind person could hit you, Sasuke. Now where's my stuff? What stuff? My grocery bags, Baka, Naruto snapped. Who said I had it? Stop playing with me. No, Teme. Sasuke had to bite the inside of his cheek to keep from smiling. It was always fun to piss of the blonde because only Naruto can manage to look cute while throwing a temper tantrum. It's in the refrigerator, the dark-haired young man finally answered. He unlocked the front door. Naruto shoved past him and stormed in. Sasuke followed at a relaxed pace. He entered the kitchen right when Naruto was bending over into the fridge getting her bags. Sasuke shamelessly let his eyes wander over her well-toned buttocks and long legs. He felt himself grow hard but pushed those thoughts down. Besides, it was ill-mannered to lust so openly. Leaning against the doorframe, Sasuke asked, "So, did you enjoy your date with Gaara?" Naruto choked on her spit. "What the?" She turned around to face him. "I was just treating him to eat Chiraku because I wanted to hang out with him." Sasuke pressed his lips together. "Then who paid the bill at the end?" "Gaara did." Naruto trailed. Suddenly realization hit her. Wait, that doesn't mean anything. We're only friends." Sasuke sent her a flat look. But under the surface he was boiling. Gaara had paid for Naruto? That was a bad sign for him. Sasuke turned and walked back into the living room. "I only wish for your happiness, Dobi," he said over his shoulder. "Oh, shut up," Naruto bellowed. "For the last time, it was not a date." "Ew, Sasuke, I still like girls, you know." "Humph," Sasuke huffed, almost a pout on his lips. "Men are better, Naruto-chan. You should give us a try." Naruto snorted. "Oh ho, and I bet you're the cream of the crop." "How observant of you," conceded Teme. Naruto growled. She stomped out the kitchen with her bags in her arms. "How does Sakura deal with you?" "She's emotionally nearsighted," Sasuke replied smoothly. "So in other words, you can be a total jackass and she thinks it's something she did wrong to make you act like that way," Naruto said while rolling her eyes. Sasuke shrugged indifferently. "Now I'm really curious. What do women see in you, besides a toy?" Sasuke snorted. He had wondered the same thing from time to time. "Who knows, but I suppose." He eased up next to Naruto until his face was only a few inches away from hers. Naruto immediately had to downplay a blush. Sasuke felt his confidence soar when he saw this. "My handsomeness makes them blind." Naruto took a few steps back from Sasuke. "Well, I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't work on me." "Why's that?" Sasuke said. He decided to use a husky tone. All women melted to that voice. Even Naruto would. Naruto suddenly laughed out loud, a real laugh. "Oh ho, you are one funny Teme." She gasped out in between giggles. Sasuke's eyes widened a fraction for a moment before he hid his emotions under a stoical facade. "Because no amount of Innis can turn me on from what your moody, mean-spirited emo attitude has turned off. In fact, it makes me want to break your pretty little nose," Naruto said with a smirk. "Now if you excuse me, boy toy, I should be going." Sasuke watched Naruto go with a put-off look. He was about to go start dinner for himself when he heard a shriek. Immediately he rushed out. Only a block away from his house he found Naruto getting up from the ground. She was covered from head to toe in mud. "You are a klutz," Sasuke stated as he helped Naruto up. "Arg, my clothes," Naruto whinnied. She bent down and began salvage the rest of her groceries. Some of the items were broken or sticky with muck and had to be thrown away. Sasuke rolled his eyes at the scene. Leave it to the village Baka to find the largest mud hole in the rundown Uchiha district and fall into it. "Come back inside. I'll wash your clothes." Naruto reluctantly went back into Sasuke's house. Naruto sat down her bags near the entrance and began to undress right in front of him. Sasuke's brain went south. He could feel his little member pumping up again. "Why, you're not shy, are you?" he asked indifferently as possible. Naruto smirked. "What's wrong, Sassy-chan?" she asked innocently. She removed her shirt so that she was stripped completely down to her underwear. "Never seen a naked chick before? I thought you and that girl Karen." "No, we didn't," Sasuke cut off quickly. "But you bit and kissed her," Naruto said. "How kinky can you get?" "I only bit her to heal my body, you baka. And the kiss was to replenish my chakra." "Right. How come you never told Sakura about it?" "No reason to. Anyway, can I borrow some clothes? Even my underwear is soaked." "You can have some clothes from my bedroom after you take a shower," Sasuke offered. "Thanks." Naruto walked past him. Sasuke's eyes followed her. He had to admit, Naruto had some really nice buttocks. He threw the remainder of Naruto's food into the trash and went to start dinner for both of them. About 20 minutes later, Sasuke was setting the table when he heard Naruto's voice. "Geez Sasuke, why does everything article of clothing you own has an Uchiha symbol on it?" she complained. Sasuke could hear her soft footsteps heading toward the kitchen. "Get over it, you ingrate." "Ah," Sasuke yelped. Naruto came out into the dining room wearing nothing but a pair of black boxers with the Uchiha printed all over it. Firm, round with sun-kissed S exposed to his eyes. Blood spilled from Sasuke's nose. Hurriedly he wiped away the evidence with a napkin before Naruto could see it. "Dobi, why are you wearing my boxers?" he asked, more composed than he felt. He did offer clothes, but that was just a little too personal. "Because I like it," Naruto answered with a shrug. "Underwear and shorts in one, it's awesome." "Where's your bra?" Sasuke asked next. He had to pinch the bridge of his nose in order to keep his nose from bleeding again. He tried to take his eyes off Naruto's boobs but couldn't. "Ooh, you cooked chicken ramen," Naruto said, excitedly looking over Sasuke's shoulder. "You made enough for me?" "Doob," Sasuke said. "Where is your bra?" he asked again. "Oh, I tossed it in the dryer with my other clothes." "Well, go get one of my shirts to wear for the meantime," Sasuke ordered. "No need," Naruto said. "My bra will be dry in 20 minutes. She walked past Sasuke to sit at the table. Her large S bouncing slightly in a hypnotizing rhythm with each step she took. Sasuke couldn't hold it in any longer. He jerked off. "Show some shame and please wear a shirt," he shouted. "Or you're going to be raped right here and now on my dining room table, and I'll probably go to jail for the rest of my life." Naruto snorted. "Fine if it means that much to you." "You have no idea?" Sasuke mumbled. "Did you just say something?" "No. It was probably your inner demon." Dinner was rather awkward for Sasuke as he poked at his noodles. Naruto was devouring hers with no problem and was chatting about random things that Sasuke could care less about. He had finally convinced her to wear one of his many Uchiha branded shirts. Of all the colors, she picked red, and it happened to be one of his smaller shirts that hugged her curves quite nicely. Sasuke felt like he was in heaven as he stared at her magnificent S that were pressed against the confinement of the t-shirt. He wasn't sure if Naruto was doing this on purpose or not, but at the moment he didn't care. Suddenly a loud cracking boom sounded from outside, signaling the start of a long downpour. "No way." Naruto rushed to the window as the rain began to pound the window like bullets. "You may have to stay the night, Dobi," Sasuke informed. "The storm is not going to let up until tomorrow morning." "What? That's what the weatherman said today. I hope he's wrong and gets fired." Naruto yelled. "I don't want to stay in your haunted mansion," she cried. Sasuke felt his eye twitch. "My house is not haunted." "Yes it is." Sasuke glared. "Then leave," he motioned to the door. Just then a loud crack of thunder was heard, causing them both to flinch slightly at the unsuspected nose. Naruto sighed miserably. Just the thought of running home in a thunderstorm wasn't very appealing. "Fine," she reneged, "but I want a sutra spell and a nightlight," she demanded. "And don't you dare put me in Itachi's room." "Sutra spell? Dobi, there's no ghosts in my house." Sasuke snapped in an affronted tone. "But there is a nightlight I can dig up from the attic, and this house has several Itachi-free guest rooms. Happy?" "Yeah, I guess. And oh, about the nightlight?" Naruto grinned sheepishly. "It's your old nightlight, right?" she asked. Sasuke rolled his eyes. "Yes, Naruto. It didn't belong to Itachi if that's what you're asking." He wanted to punch Naruto. Sometimes she could be such an insensitive idiot. Naruto jumped up with a shout of happiness. "Yes, thanks." Sasuke followed the movement of her body more than anything. Forgetting his anger, he said, "Why, you're welcome." Sasuke tried for the rest of the evening to forget Naruto's beautiful body but failed pathetically, especially since they were sitting shoulder to shoulder on the sofa watching TV. It just all felt so weird. Reality felt like some sick Twilight Zone jest. Just 2 months earlier he would have beaten Naruto into the ground, and now he wanted to beat into Naruto instead. It was still raining outside, but the lightning and thunder had stopped. Playing on the TV set was an old movie called Junior. Why they decided to watch it was beyond him, but Naruto seemed to find it amusing to watch a romance between two klutzy scientists and a pregnant man. Personally, Sasuke found it to be disturbing. He was quite content with his manhood and extremely happy he could have offspring without carrying it. Which had him wondering about Naruto. He was now a she, meaning she has to carry and give birth to the offspring. Do you want kids someday, Naruto? Sasuke asked randomly as the credits of the movie began scroll down the screen. Sure, I wanted 5, Naruto answered. She stretched her hands above her head, making her S even more noticeable through the shirt. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Wanted 5? He asked, recognizing the past tense. Yeah, but that was before I'd known I would be the one to have them. Sasuke released a dry chuckle. So how many do you want now? 3. Sasuke blinked. And you still plan to be Hokage? Yup. Why so many then? Childbearing was hard in the shinobi world. Most ninja families only had 1 or 2 and rarely 3 babies at the most. Usually the woman stepped down from active duty to rear the children. If Naruto was the Hokage and if the father was an active duty ninja, it would be exceedingly difficult on her. Naruto sighed, understanding where Sasuke was coming from. I grew up alone, Sasuke. Even though your family was tragically taken away from you, at least you knew what it was like to have them at one time. Sasuke felt his chest tighten. There's a bond between siblings that I can never understand, and I want my kids to grow up with those bonds. Even at my expense, she explained. Her face cracked into a sunny smile. So what about you? Planning on 50 brats or something? She joked. Sasuke snorted. He turned away from Naruto. Sakura only said, as many as I wanted. Is that such a bad thing? Naruto took Sasuke's silence as an answer. Then how many do you want? 3 or 4? Naruto's eyebrows shot up. That's it? Damn, the Uchiha clan won't make a comeback with that. Sasuke shrugged. I would say 9 children, but these are Uchiha babies. 1 Uchiha baby equals the trouble and expenses of 3 normal babies. So if I have 3 kids, it's like having 9. Naruto laughed aloud. Well, since you put it that way, Teme, I guess you have a point. Uchihas are a handful, and believe me, I'm talking from personal experience. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Since little Sasukes are so troublesome, just use shadow clones to help care for them, Naruto joked, but Sasuke took that suggestion seriously. Not a bad idea. Maybe I'll really have 9 after all then. However, my clones can only last 4 to 8 hours. Hell, that's it? Mine can last for days if they're not harmed. Naruto bragged. Really? Sasuke asked, interested. With a consuming urge, he began to rub Naruto's thigh. It was smooth and firm. He had to control his inner beast not to rub closer to her crotch. If that's the case, why don't we get started now? He suggested slyly. Naruto felt immediately uncomfortable. She wasn't sure if it was from the glint in Sasuke's eye or the thigh rub. Probably both. Doing what? Repopulating the Uchiha and Uzumaki clans, of course, Sasuke said as if it was the simplest thing in the world. Personally, I would like us to have a girl first. I want to name her after my mother. Then we can name our first son after your father, the Yondaime. Well, you're kidding, right? Sasuke pulled away with a snort. Obviously, idiot. Naruto did an anime fall off the couch. Thank Kami. Don't toy with me like that again. Then stop being such a gullible fool and then maybe I'll stop, Sasuke said. He flipped through the TV channels with the remote control. If you ever reproduce, may Kami have mercy and let the kid inherited its father's brain cells. SHUDDUP. Naruto snapped. So where am I going to sleep, tonight? You said in an Itachi-free room, right? Yeah, but I could offer you something better. What? We could share a bed? Sasuke suggested covertly. He sent Naruto a smile. My bed. Naruto snorted. She was thinking Sasuke was teasing her again. No way. Are you sure? I have silk sheets. Naruto laughed. Sorry, but I don't feel like outrunning Sakura when she gets back from her mission. She won't know about it, and if she does find out, I'll protect you, Sasuke said. He caressed Naruto's jaw with his hand. It's going to get cold tonight. I need a little body heat. Stop teasing me like that, you pervert. Naruto shouted. Seriously, stop. You are starting to freak me out. It's not funny anymore. But I'm not teasing you, Naruto. Naruto suddenly felt sick. Really, really sick. Why, you aren't? Sasuke snorted. Just kidding. Geez, you fell for the same thing twice, baka, he stated. Naruto twitched. Go curl up somewhere and die, Teme. Later that night Sasuke tossed and turned listening to the rain beat against his bedroom window as he thought about his advances on Naruto. It bothered him a lot. His duality had little to no effect on Naruto. Now he truly knew life was nothing but sadistic irony. The only girl he wanted at his mercy, and she was not aroused by him. Almost possessed, Sasuke got up and stealthily walked to Naruto's chambers. He had given her the closest guest room to his room. The way Naruto's sleep was so disgusting and yet why at the same time. Her mouth wide open with drool oozing out the side and snoring loud enough to wake the dead. Blonde hair ruffled across the pillows. Her shirt had ridden up due to all the twisting, revealing a lean tight muscled stomach. Sasuke felt himself drooling at the sight. Hastily he wiped it away. There he goes being a pervert again. Sasuke turned to leave when Sasuke, the Uchiha, froze. The hairs on his body stood up. Had Naruto caught his goggling? Sasuke looked back to see the Dobi still asleep, thank Kami. Sasuke? Naruto sleepily muttered suddenly. That piqued Sasuke's interest. Naruto was dreaming about him? Naruto's face suddenly soured as she began to thrash around. Uteme! She shouted, landing an unsuspecting kick into Sasuke's balls with her foot. Sasuke squeaked before falling to the floor clutching his most valuable item. At Sasuke's squeak, Naruto jerked awake. Huh? What? She said sleepily. She sat up rubbing the sleepiness out of her eyes when she noticed Sasuke curled up on the ground. Hey, what are you doing on the floor, Sasuke? Naruto asked concerned. Sasuke merely groaned. Then she had a second thought. Actually, what are you doing in my room? Sasuke rose from the ground carefully and slowly. I heard talking so I investigated, he managed to say in between the throbs of pain. His voice was still a little high-pitched. But it was just you sleep talking. TCH moron. Sorry Sasuke, Naruto yawned as she stretched her arms above her head. Sasuke got a great view of her ass hardening through her shirt. But I was a great dream. We were fighting and man did I nail you bad. She said proudly. Yep, you did, Sasuke muttered in agreement under his breath. He inwardly cringed as he fought the urge to cradle his precious. The next morning Naruto was completely refreshed and greeted Sasuke. In return, the albino merely grunted. To show her appreciation she decided to cook breakfast. When Naruto was halfway done, there was a knock at the door. Sasuke got up to answer it to come face to face with Kiba and his partner Akamaru. Hey Kiba, Naruto shouted over Sasuke's form. She came to the door wiping her hands on a paper towel. Kiba merely stared blankly at her in response. What? Naruto asked innocently. Sasuke inwardly sighed. He was really hoping Naruto just stayed in the kitchen. This was not a good impression right now. Okay, the Inuzuka said slowly, taking in Naruto's appearance. Naruto, what are you doing in Sasuke's boxers? Naruto's eyes bulged, realizing what Kiba was hinting. Kiba, it's not what it looks like, I swear. My clothes got. Kiba laughed half-heartedly. He waved Naruto off. Save it, I can tell you didn't do anything, he tapped his nose. My sense of smell doesn't lie. Suddenly he gave Sasuke a dark glare. But you on the other hand, he growled openly at him. Sasuke glared back and growled, not as carny but it still sounded animalistic, daring Kiba to finish that sentence. Naruto glanced back and forth between Kiba and Sasuke uneasily. Whatever you're both growling about, stop it. They both stopped growling like animals but were still glaring at each other. Naruto figured it was better than nothing. Hey, since you're here, why don't you come in for breakfast, Kiba-kun? No, both Kiba and Sasuke said at the same time. Why? Naruto asked completely oblivious. You ate already or something? I can even make something for Akamaru, she offered. Akamaru perked up at that and whined to Kiba, begging him to agree. With a sigh Kiba relented. Only if it's okay with the Uchiha. No, get out. Stop being such a prick, Teme. Naruto shouted. If Kiba has to go, I'm going with him and you can eat it all by yourself. Sasuke's glare deepened. Fine, conceded and opened the door wider to give Kiba and Akamaru entrance to his home. And so were the gates of hell opened. Unlike most of the men in Konoha who were smitten with Naruto Uzumaki, Sai had found his friend's transformation to be funny. Dead funny. In fact, his new favorite nickname for Naruto was now officially. On his days off from active duty, Sai sketched and painted anything he found fascinating to sell in his part-time paint shop. He had recently opened it near his home to make some extra cash. Particularly on one of his days off, Sai was wandering around for inspiration when he found Naruto half-naked in training area 7, meditating. The albino admitted Naruto was indeed a rare beauty, but he felt that his girlfriend, Ino, would always be the beauty queen of Konoha. Still, he smirked. What are the chances of catching Naruto in a situation like this again? He immediately ducked behind the shrubs and took out his trusty sketchbook. By the time Naruto left the training area a few hours later, Sai had drawn over 12 sketches of her. 8 of them he considered very well done. Ahem, a voice said suddenly. Surprised, Sai looked over his shoulder to see Neji Hyuga. The stoical man had his arms crossed, looking down at him a sneer. Sai forced out a very plastic smile. Oh hello Hyuga-san, he held up his drawing book. 600 yen a page, he teased. Sai was fully prepared for a disgusted glance or even a sucker punch. But not this. Neji scoffed. 400 yen a page or nothing. What? Sai said, dropping his smile. His eyes were wide in shock. Is this what people call sarcasm? He asked sincerely. Surely Neji was kidding. He didn't think the human ice cube had it in him. Neji scowled at Sai, signaling he was dead serious. No, he said. He pulled out his wallet. Trying to hide a blush on his pale cheeks, he said. I want 6 of your best drawings of Naruto for 400 yen each. As a girl. Mind you, and keep this transaction quiet. Sai was speechless. Quote. Well, Sai did the math quickly. 2,400 yen for sketches? What the hell was he waiting for? Okay, he agreed. He gave his sketchbook to Neji. Your pick, Hyuga-san. As time went by, Sai continued to gain more and more customers. Unfortunately, it wasn't for his scenery artwork. The artwork that was selling nicely usually had a certain blonde ninja in it. Neji and a few other Uzumaki fans came to him on what Sai nicknamed the Orange Market. In a small room in the back of his store, he sold only pictures of Naruto as surreptitiously as possible. His current customer was a sand ninja named Kankuro, who had wandered into the Orange Market by accident and spotted his colored life drawing of Naruto he had recently finished. Once Sai was reassured the man wasn't going to punch his lights out or reveal his secret business, he bargained out a fair price with him. Kankuro rubbed his chin as he examined the drawing. It was a large colored sketch of Naruto Uzumaki sitting on the Hokage monument, on the Yondaime's head to specify, with her shirt unzipped. Gaara's birthday was in a few days and this could be the perfect gift for him. Can you frame it? Only 300 yen extra, Sai said with a fake smile. Do it. Want it trimmed in coal black, skylark blue, red passion or neon orange? Better make it blue. Gift warping available? Free with purchases of 1,500 yen or more. Sweet. What kind of request? Photography? Never thought of that. Sai then smirked. Why Hyuga-san, I've never realized you were such a pervert. Neji had the decency to blush. Only for Uzumaki, I am. And after the suggestion, business in the Orange Market had dramatically boomed. This is the largest portrait I've done of Naruto Uzumaki at this time, Sai said. He was busy showing his newest customer. 60 by 80 inches. It was a blown-up picture of Naruto undressing in her apartment. Kiba was practically drooling at the mouth. How much? 5,000 yen warped and out the door? Sold, he agreed quickly. Ino fidgeted happily in her seat. Sai had just given her a white gold bracelet with real blue pearls embedded in it. Wow Sai-kun, Ino shrieked excitedly. This is gorgeous. She jumped up and gave her boyfriend a bone-crushing hug. Anything for my kitten, Sai said. It's so beautiful. This must have cost your whole paycheck. Sai shrugged. I racked up extra money by selling photographs and some sketches. Who the better spend it on than my little miss? Beautiful? He teased. Ino squealed happily. You got your priorities right. You are the best boyfriend I've ever had. You like it then? Like it? I love it. I want to purchase a set of wallet-size pictures. Sure, Sai said. I have bedtime and underwear photos available. What about the bikini photos? Sorry, that sold clean out the first day. Sasuke snorted. The underwear set will do then, and Sai. Yes? Tell anyone else, especially Sakura, that I bought these photos from you and you will die a slow painful death with Tsukiyomi, understand? Sai pouted. Why Sasuke-kun, I'm hurt. I'm highly professional and will not disclose my customers' personal information under pain of death, as you mentioned. Oh, Naruto-kun looks so beautifully spirited in this photo. Lee cheered as he looked through a stack of training photos. I'll take this one and this one. He took them out of the stack and placed it on the side. And this one and, Iaea. He shirked suddenly. Blood gushed out of his nose. Where's her shirt? Sai raised an eyebrow. Lee-san, that's the idea, want it? How can you do this to poor innocent Naruto? Lee, it's a betrayal of friendship. Lee-san, Sai said. Do you want it or not? He asked again. Well, Sai pressed. He had other customers who had scheduled an appointment. Okay, do you have any bathhouse portraits available? Sai shook his head. Not at this time, however if you are interested you can buy a set of 5 photos for 1,500 yen. Sai held up 5 photos of Naruto relaxing in the hot springs. She was in a different position in each one. Close enough, also I still want a portrait. What do they sell for? They sell 20 by 40 for 4,000 yen. 40 by 60 for 4,500 yen and 60 by 80 for 5,000 yen, Sai answered professionally. So which one do you want? Can I request a 120 by 140? Sure, but there's a waiting list for special requests. Sign me up. How much is shipping? It's free shipping for purchases of 3,000 yen and over and for you personally, Casecage-sama, I'll upgrade shipping to overnight free of charge. Yo, Sai called out to Naruto. Haven't seen you around. I just got back from a B-class mission. Naruto bragged with a smirk. It was a riot. When Naruto goes out on missions, things went into a slump because all his work were authentic life drawings and photos of her daily routines. Basically Sai had become a stalker over the past 3 months in his free time. Did he care? No. It was easy money for him and presents for Ino. That's all that mattered, but he couldn't help but feel a little bad for using Naruto, so whenever he could he would. How about you tell me all about it over ramen? Sai would suggest. I'll pay for whatever you want. If only Naruto knew she had already paid for it.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.